The salvage ship moved slowly through the dark, like a careful swimmer crossing a cold lake. Its lights were small, thin beams that could not push far into the endless black. Elias Ward sat alone in the pilot's seat with his boots up on the edge of the console, trying to look relaxed. It never worked. Deep space always made him feel like the universe was watching. He had been a salvager for 6 years. 6 years of chasing old signals, broken ships, and drifting stations that nobody wanted to claim. The work was quiet, dangerous, and often boring. But boring was better than bleeding. Elias had learned that early. The station ahead of him looked like a dead flower made of metal. Long curved arms were wrapped around a central core, and many parts were missing, as if something had taken bites out of it. No transponder, no official record, the kind of place that made insurance companies laugh. Elias checked his instruments again. Power readings were low, but not zero. A station this old should have been fully dark. "All right," he muttered to himself. "Let's see what you're hiding." He brought his ship close and matched rotation. The docking clamps clicked into place with a dull, heavy sound that traveled through the hull. Elias waited a few seconds, watching for any sudden spikes in energy. Nothing. Only the soft hum of his ship and the gentle whisper of life support. He put on his suit. Not a heavy combat suit, just a simple vacuum suit with a helmet and a small oxygen pack. His suit had old scratches and a patch on the left knee, but it still held pressure. He grabbed a tool bag and a compact scanner, then stepped into the airlock. The airlock cycled. Pressure dropped, the outer door opened. The station's docking corridor was dark. Elias' helmet light clicked on and painted a narrow path across the metal floor. Dust floated in slow clouds. He took one careful step, then another. His boots made soft, hollow sounds. Every noise seemed too loud. He expected the usual signs of decay, ice, broken panels, maybe the smell of burnt circuits if the station had died in a fire. Instead, the corridor felt clean. Not polished, but controlled, like someone had sealed it and waited. Elias raised his scanner and ran it along the wall. Old alloy, strange coating, faint energy traces like a heartbeat after a long sleep. He moved deeper. A thin sound touched his ears. He froze. It was not a warning alarm, not metal creaking, not radio static. It was a voice. At first he thought it was a trick of his helmet comms, some looped broadcast bouncing around the station. But the sound was uneven, like breathing between words, like fear. Elias held still and listened. "Help!" The word was faint, broken, almost swallowed by silence. His skin tightened under his suit. "Hello," he said, speaking into the station air. "Who's there?" No answer. Then again, softer this time, like someone using the last of their strength. "Help, please," Elias swallowed. Many things in space were dangerous, old stations, pirates. Hidden mines, strange alien tech. But a voice asking for help did something to a person. It reached past training and caution and hit a place that was older than logic. He checked his comms, no external transmissions. The voice was coming from inside. Elias took a slow breath. "Okay," he said, not loud, not soft. "I hear you, I'm coming." He moved faster now, but not careless. Corridors branched into corridors. Some doors were sealed shut with melted edges, as if someone had welded them from the outside. Some walls had symbols carved into them, curved lines and sharp points, like warnings written by hands that did not think like humans. The voice appeared again, guiding him without trying. "Here," he followed. The station's inner hall opened into a wide chamber with a ceiling so high his helmet light could not find the top. Broken screens floated near the walls, still attached by cables like vines. In the center stood a thick door made of dark metal, covered in lightless patterns. His scanner beeped, energy concentration high. Elias stared at the door. "Of course," he whispered. "The creepy door always has the secret." He moved close and examined the edges. There was no normal control panel. Instead, there were small indentations shaped like hands, but not human hands. Too long, too thin. The voice came again, so close it almost felt like it was inside his head. "Please?" Elias felt his chest tight. "I'm here," he said. "I don't know how to open it, but I'm trying." He pulled out a cutter tool and tested the seam. The metal did not react. The tool's heat faded like it was being swallowed. He frowned. "That's not normal." He stepped back and scanned again. The door was not only locked, it was part of a system, a seal. Elias considered turning back, calling authorities, leaving before something woke up. He had done that before and it had saved his life. But the voice did not sound like bait. It sounded like someone who had been waiting too long. He tried something else. He pressed his gloved hand against one of the alien hand-shaped indentations. It did not fit, but the moment his glove touched the metal, a soft light appeared under his palm. The pattern on the door woke up like sleeping eyes. A low tone filled the chamber. The air felt thicker, like invisible pressure pushing outward. Elias pulled his hand away. The light stayed. Then the door opened, not with a loud hiss or a grinding sound. It opened like a curtain being pulled aside, smooth and silent. Cold air spilled out, carrying a scent he could not name, like rain on stone, like something clean and ancient. Elias lifted his light and stepped through. Inside was a smaller room, round and perfectly shaped. The walls glowed faintly, covered in moving lines that looked like slow rivers of light. In the center was a raised platform, and on the platform was a figure. Elias stopped breathing for half a second. A girl, not human, but close enough to make the mind struggle. She was small, maybe the size of a human teenager. Her skin was pale with a soft blue tint like moonlight on snow. Her hair fell around her face in long, dark strands that floated slightly as if the air itself was gentler here. Her eyes were closed, and she was chained. The chains were not metal. They were bands of light wrapped around her wrists, ankles, and waist, holding her in the air above the platform. The light bands pulsed slowly, like they were feeding off her or feeding something through her. Her lips moved. "Help." Elias felt his throat go dry. He had seen prisoners before. He had seen people trapped in bad situations. But this was different. This was not a jail. This was a device. He stepped closer, keeping his hands open so he didn't look like a threat. "Hey," he said softly. "Can you hear me? I'm Elias." Her eyes fluttered open. They were not bright colors like in cheap holovids. They were deep and dark, like space without stars. But inside that darkness, a small light moved, as if something was trying to speak through the gaze. She looked at him, and for a moment Elias felt something touch his thoughts. Not words, not pictures, just feeling, fear, pain, hope. He swallowed again. "Okay, you're not alone now." Her mouth opened, and a whisper came out, fragile and shaking. "Human heard?" Elias nodded. "Yeah, I heard you." He looked around the room. There were no obvious control panels. The walls were smooth and alive with those slow light patterns. The platform had symbols etched into it. His scanner was going wild, chirping and flashing warnings about unknown energy. He stepped carefully to the edge of the platform and examined the light bands. They did not look like they were cutting into her skin, but her body trembled with every pulse. Her breathing was shallow. She looked exhausted, like she had been holding a heavy weight for too long. Elias tried not to show anger. Anger could make you stupid, but he felt it anyway. "Who did this to you?" he asked. Her eyes shifted, unfocused for a moment, as if remembering hurt. "Not here," she whispered. "Left me to hold it." "To hold what?" Elias asked. Her face tightened. A low hum spread through the room. The lines on the walls moved faster. Elias felt a strange pressure in his ears, like the station itself was listening. "Stop," Elias said quickly, holding up a hand. "Don't push yourself, just small words, okay?" She blinked slowly. The hum softened. Elias looked at the light bands again. He reached out a tool and gently touched one band near her wrist. The tool's metal tip vibrated. A sharp spark jumped and the band brightened. The whole room responded like a nerve being touched. Elias jerked his hand back. His glove smoked a little. "Okay," he muttered. "Not that." He tried his scanner near the band. It struggled to read anything. The energy signature was layered like many systems built into one. There were safety locks, feedback loops, and something else, something that felt like a leash connected to a larger machine. Elias realized the truth in a cold, slow wave. The chains were not just holding her in place. They were using her. He turned his helmet light toward the far end of the room and finally noticed a second structure, half hidden behind the glowing wall patterns. It looked like a tall arch, made of the same dark metal as the door, but cracked down the center. Inside the crack, darkness swirled, not empty darkness, but moving darkness like a storm trapped in glass. Elias stared at it. "Is that?" The girl's eyes followed his gaze. Her lips trembled. "Rift," she whispered. "Hurt the sky." Elias felt his stomach drop. A rift meant unstable space. A tear, the kind of thing that ate ships and turned planets into dust if it grew. "And you're holding it closed," he said, voice low. She nodded once, very small. "Chains make me anchor." Elias' mind raced. If he freed her, would the rift open? Would the station explode? Would something come through? He looked back at her face. She was terrified, but not of him, terrified of failing, of letting go. Elias took a slow breath and spoke carefully. "Listen," he said. I'm going to help you, but I need to understand. If I break these chains, what happens? Her eyes squeezed shut, and for a moment Elias felt that strange touch again, images without images, emotions shaped like warnings. Big break, she whispered. If no balance. Elias nodded, forcing himself to stay calm. So we need a way to replace the balance, a new anchor. She looked at him like she didn't understand. Humans always looked for solutions, even when they shouldn't, even when the universe told them to stop. Elias glanced around the room again and found a small console tucked into the wall, almost hidden. It was not a human console, but it had patterns that reacted to his helmet light. He moved toward it and lifted his scanner. The console woke up, projecting symbols into the air. He didn't recognize the language, but he recognized the logic. Systems, inputs, warnings, containment. He saw repeating icons that probably meant lock, danger, and do not touch. Elias sighed. I touch everything, he whispered. He pulled out a small universal adapter, one he used for old ship systems. He placed it against the console and hoped it wouldn't melt. The adapter's lights flickered. The console responded with a low chime and a new set of symbols, simpler, like it was trying to meet him halfway. Elias' eyebrows rose. Well, that's nice. He scrolled through options slowly. Many were blocked. Some showed the same warning symbol again and again. But one line repeated with a pulsing marker. It was the only thing that looked like a status report. He tapped it. A diagram appeared. The arch, the rift, the chains, and the girl, represented as a glowing figure connected by lines. Energy flowed from the rift through the chains and into a containment field around the room. Elias stared. So you're not just holding it, you're feeding it through yourself. The girl's breathing hitched. Her eyes watered and a tear floated upward, shimmering in the low gravity. Hurts, she whispered, like admitting something she had been forced to hide. Elias felt something hard settle in his chest. He was not a soldier, he was not a hero. He was a man with a small ship and a toolbox. He survived by staying out of big stories. But he was standing in a room where a child was chained to a hole in space and used like a living plug. And she had cried for help. Only one human had heard her. Elias walked back to her slowly and lowered himself so his helmet was level with her face. I don't know who did this, he said. I don't know what rules your people follow or what the galaxy thinks is acceptable, but I know one thing. He paused, choosing simple words. No one gets to treat a person like a tool. Her eyes searched his face, uncertain, as if she had never heard that before. Elias looked at the light bands again and then at the console. I'm going to find a way to move the anchor from you to something else. A machine, a field. Anything, and when I do, I'm taking you off these chains. The room hummed quietly, almost like a breath. The girl whispered, Why? Elias blinked. Why what? Why help me? He was quiet for a moment. The honest answer was complicated. Fear and kindness and stubborn pride all mixed together, but he kept it simple. Because you asked, he said, and because I'm here. Her lips parted as if she wanted to say more, but instead her eyes filled again and another tear floated free. Elias turned back toward the console, ready to dig into the system deeper. That was when the station changed. The soft glow in the walls sharpened. The lines of light began moving faster, turning into warning patterns. A distant vibration rolled through the floor, like a giant engine starting after a long sleep. Elias' helmet chimed with a new alert. External contact detected. He froze and checked his suit's external sensors. A cluster of signals appeared on his display, ships, multiple, entering the region around the station. Not human codes, unknown fleet signatures moving fast. Elias stared at the display, then looked back at the chained girl. Her eyes widened with sudden fear, not tired fear, but sharp fear. They're coming, she whispered. Elias' mouth went dry. Who? Her voice shook. The ones who left me. The station's door behind him sealed with a silent snap. And somewhere beyond the walls, in the cold open dark, engines flared as the unknown fleet closed in. The station trembled again, stronger this time. Elias felt it through the floor, up his legs, into his chest. His helmet display flashed warning symbols as more ships appeared on the sensor screen. They were forming a wide circle around the station, like hunters closing a net. He looked back at the girl floating in the light chains. Her breathing was fast now. The soft glow around her flickered with every pulse of the rift behind the wall. Okay, Elias muttered to himself. No pressure at all. He ran back to the console. The alien symbols were changing, responding to the station's alert state. New warning patterns flashed in sharp lines of light. Even without understanding the language, Elias could feel the meaning. Lockdown, defense systems, external threat. He tapped through the options, moving faster now. His hands were steady, but his heart was. He kept one eye on the door and one on the display. The girl spoke again, her voice tight with fear. "They will take me back." Elias didn't look at her. If he did, he knew he would stop thinking and start acting on anger alone. "That's not happening," he said. Her chains pulsed brighter and the hum in the room deepened. The crack in the arch behind the wall glowed faintly, like something inside it was waking up. Elias found a system diagram again. More layers had unlocked. He saw power lines branching out from the rift system into the rest of the station. The whole place was built around her, a cage disguised as a facility. "Who are they?" Elias asked, still working. "Keepers," she whispered. "They watch the breaks in the sky, they don't fix." "They hold," Elias frowned. "And you're what, their tool?" She nodded slowly. A hard sound echoed through the station, not a vibration this time, a knock, something had docked. Elias spun toward the sealed door. His scanner chirped as it picked up energy spikes on the other side. "Advanced tech, military grade." The girl's voice dropped to a small, shaking sound. "Please, don't let them." Elias took a slow breath. He forced himself to think. The station's defense systems were old but powerful. The console showed automated turrets, shield nodes, and internal security fields. Most were inactive, waiting for commands from whoever controlled the system. "All right," Elias whispered. "Let's see who listens to me today." He plugged his adapter deeper into the console and opened a command layer. The system resisted, throwing warning symbols at him. He ignored them and pushed through, using every trick he had learned, breaking into forgotten ship systems and locked cargo holds. The console paused. Then it accepted. A new set of controls appeared. Primitive but clear, defense grid, internal routing, energy flow. Elias didn't smile, he didn't have time. Another knock hit the door louder. The metal rippled slightly under the force. "They're not asking," Elias said. He tapped the defense grid and routed power to the station's outer turrets. His display showed them waking up, one by one, like old giants stretching after a long sleep. Outside, one of the unknown ships moved forward. The station fired. A beam of blue-white light cut through space and struck the ship's shield. The shield flared, held, and pushed the beam aside. The ship didn't stop. Elias cursed under his breath. "Figures!" The girl flinched as the station fired again. The rift pulsed in response, and the room's light surged. Elias felt heat crawl up his arms inside the suit. "Don't push it," he said quickly, more to the station than to her. He turned back to the console and looked for another option. He found a section labeled in repeating symbols that looked like transfer or redirect. He opened it. A flow map appeared, energy from the rift, through the girl, into the containment field, then spread across the station systems. Elias stared. The station wasn't just holding the rift, it was powered by it. "You're the battery," he whispered. The girl nodded weakly. "They said I was useful." Elias felt a sharp, bitter laugh try to escape. He swallowed it down. A loud crack split the air. The door behind him bent inward, a long line of light cutting through the seam. "They're cutting in," Elias said. He made a decision. He rerouted the energy flow. The console flashed red symbols, warnings stacked on warnings. The girl gasped as the chains around her brightened, then dimmed. Elias pushed again, redirecting the rift's energy away from the station systems and into a backup field around the arch. The room shook. The crack in the arch flared bright, then settled like a storm being pushed into a bottle. The girl's chains loosened slightly, just a little, her eyes widened. "I feel lighter." Elias grinned, quick and sharp. "Good, that means it's working." The door behind him exploded inward. Metal tore and flew across the room. Elias dove to the side as a slab of wall slammed into the platform's edge. Smoke and sparks filled the air. 3 figures stepped through the hole. They were tall, taller than any human Elias had seen in person. Their bodies were wrapped in dark, smooth armor that reflected the room's glowing light. Their heads were long and narrow, with no visible mouths. Their eyes were bright slits of gold. One of them raised a device. Not a weapon, a projector. A voice filled the room, flat and calm, coming from everywhere at once. "Human, step away from the asset." Elias stood up slowly, putting himself between them and the girl. "Her name is Sally," he said, "and she's not an asset." The keepers tilted their heads slightly, like birds studying something new. "The anchor belongs to the network," the voice said. "You are interfering with a containment operation." Elias spread his hands. Your operation is killing her. The girl whimpered softly behind him. The voice paused. The anchor is designed to endure. Elias shook his head. She's not a machine. One of the keepers stepped forward. The floor beneath its feet glowed faintly with each step. Your species is inefficient, the voice said. You attach emotion to function. Elias felt anger rise hot and fast. Yeah, he said. We do, that's the point. He glanced back at the console. The energy Rurut was holding, but barely. The backup field around the rift flickered like a weak shield. The keepers raised their device again. The air around Elias grew heavy, pressing down on him. His suit system struggled to compensate. Step aside, the voice commanded. Elias planted his boots. No, the girl's chains pulsed again. The rift flared, reacting to the rising tension. The room's light turned sharp and wild. Elias shouted, if you force this, the rift will break free. I moved the load, you can't just grab her anymore. The keepers froze. Their golden eyes shifted to the arch. The voice dropped in pitch, almost curious. Explain. Elias took a breath. I rerouted the flow. She's not the main anchor now. The station is. The field around the rift is taking the strain. You pull her out, the system collapses. It wasn't entirely true, but it was close enough to make them hesitate. The keepers exchanged a silent signal. Elias didn't know how he knew, he just felt it. Your modifications are unstable, the voice said. You risk catastrophic failure. Elias nodded. Yeah, so do you. The girl whispered his name. Elias, he glanced back at her. Her chains were dimmer, now thinner. She looked more solid, less like a ghost made of light. I'm almost there, he said. The keepers moved forward together. Elias slammed his hand down on the console. He activated the station's internal field. A wave of blue energy rolled through the room like a sudden tide. The keepers were lifted off their feet and thrown back into the broken doorway. Their armor sparked as they hit the walls. The girl cried out as the field passed through her. Elias winced but saw that the chains held. The rift flared bright, then settled again. Elias ran to the platform and grabbed one of the light bands near her ankle. This time when he touched it, it didn't burn, it flickered. Stay with me, he said. Don't fight it. Let the system take the load. She nodded, eyes closed, focusing on something inside herself. The band faded, then vanished. Her leg dropped and Elias caught it, steadying her. A loud, angry sound came from the doorway. The keepers were standing again, their armor glowing with heat. The voice returned, sharp now. You will stop. Elias didn't answer. He moved to the next band and pulled at the console with his free hand, breaking another link in the chain system. The second band vanished. The station screamed, not in sound but in motion. The walls shook. The arch cracked wider, darkness swirling inside like a storm trying to escape. The backup field flared, barely holding. The girl cried out and Elias felt a wave of cold rush through the room, like space itself had taken a breath. The keepers rushed forward. Elias grabbed the girl fully now, wrapping an arm around her and pulling her close to the platform. One more, he whispered. He reached for the final band around her waist. The keepers raised their device. The rift pulsed. The station's lights went out. For one long, silent second, the room was dark except for the faint glow of the girl's eyes and the swirling shadow of the rift behind them. Then everything moved at once. Darkness swallowed the room. For a moment, Elias thought the station had finally died. His helmet light flickered, then came back on in a weak, thin beam. Dust and glowing particles floated in the air like tiny stars. He was still holding Sally. Her body felt warm and real in his arms, not like the ghost of light she had been before. She was breathing fast, clutching the front of his suit with thin fingers like she was afraid the universe might pull her away if she let go. The rift behind them pulsed, not with light. With sound, a low, deep hum rolled through the station, not loud but heavy, like the voice of something too big to care if it was heard. Elias swallowed. Okay, that's new. The keepers' shapes moved in the dark near the doorway. Their armor glowed faintly now, lines of gold running across their bodies like cracks in stone. Their voice returned, no longer flat. There was something else in it now, tension. The field is failing, it said. Your interference has crossed the threshold. Elias looked at the arch. The crack was wider, the darkness inside it moving like a slow storm. The backup field flickered around it, thin and tired. He looked down at Sally. Can you stand? She nodded, weak but determined. He helped her to her feet. Her legs shook, but they held. I feel the pull, she whispered. It's angry. Elias frowned. The rift, she nodded. It doesn't want to be closed, it wants to be somewhere. Elias didn't like the sound of that. The station shook again harder. Somewhere far away, metal tore. The keepers took a step forward together. "This system must be restored," the voice said. "The anchor must return to position." Elias stepped in front of Saley again. "Not happening." One of the keepers raised its device. The air around Elias grew thick, pressing down on his suit, on his chest, on his thoughts. Saley cried out. The lights in her eyes flared, bright and sharp. "Stop!" Elias shouted. "You're making it worse," the rift responded. A wave of cold rolled through the room, freezing the air into glittering mist. The keepers stumbled back as the floor cracked under their feet, thin lines of frost spreading like veins. Saley clutched her head. "I can't hold it back." Elias looked at the console. It was dark now, dead. The adapter lay on the floor, sparking weakly. "Of course," he muttered. "Now it quits." He grabbed the adapter and slapped it back into place. The console flickered, then glowed faintly. A single system screen appeared, containment critical. Elias scanned the options. Most were locked or broken. One line blinked at the bottom, slow and steady, manual stabilization. He tapped it. A new diagram appeared, the rift, the field, the station, and now a new shape, a human silhouette. Elias stared. "Oh no." Saley looked at him, eyes wide. "What?" he swallowed. "It wants another anchor." The keepers stepped forward again, faster now. "The system recognizes adaptive life," the voice said. "You will suffice." Elias laughed, short and sharp. "That's a terrible idea." But the console didn't care. The room hummed as energy shifted. Lines of light ran along the floor toward Elias' boots. His suit screamed warnings as the power surged around him. Saley grabbed his arm. "Don't, it will hurt you." Elias looked at her, really looked. She was standing on her own now. The chains were gone. The light around her was softer, calmer. She was free. He turned back to the console. "I don't plan on staying plugged in," he said. "Just long enough to move the load." He tapped the screen again and dragged the energy flow, shifting it away from Saley and toward the station's core. The rift screamed, not in sound but in pressure. Elias felt it in his bones, in his teeth, in the space behind his eyes. The world bent just a little. The keepers staggered. Saley cried out, falling to her knees. Elias dropped beside her. Hey, look at me, breathe. You're not the anchor anymore. You're safe." She looked up at him, tears floating in the low gravity. "You're hurting." Elias didn't deny it. His suit glowed faintly now, lines of light running across the fabric like veins. "Yeah," he said, "but I signed up for dangerous jobs. You didn't." The station's walls cracked. Pieces of metal floated free, spinning slowly. Outside, through the broken doorway, Elias could see flashes of light. The unknown fleet was moving, ships repositioning, weapons charging. The keepers raised their device again, but this time the light around it flickered. The station's field pushed back, bending the air. "The rift is destabilizing the region," the voice said. "All units are at risk." Elias grinned weakly. "Welcome to my day." He looked back at the console. The flow was shifting, but not enough. The station was taking the load, but it was too old, too weak. It wouldn't hold. He needed something else. He looked at the rift again. The darkness inside it moved with purpose now, like it was searching. Saley followed his gaze. "It feels lost," she whispered. "Like it doesn't know where it belongs." Elias blinked. "Lost," she nodded slowly. "It was made. Not born, a door without a room." Elias' mind raced. A door without a room. "What if," he said slowly, "we give it one?" The keepers tilted their heads. Saley looked confused. "What do you mean?" Elias pointed at the star map on his wrist display. "Space is big, really big. This rift is tearing things apart because it's stuck here in one place, pulling on everything around it." He tapped a far, empty region of space on the map. "What if we move it? Not close it, just send it somewhere it can't hurt anyone." Saley's eyes widened. "I can't move it alone." Elias nodded. "Good, because you're not going to." He turned back to the console and opened a navigation layer. The system resisted, but the rift's energy was already tangled in everything. It responded to his touch like a nervous animal. The keepers stepped forward again. "You will not relocate a cosmic fracture," the voice said. "The risk is unacceptable." Elias snapped back. "So is chaining a kid to it for the rest of her life." He set the coordinates, deep space. No stars, no planets, just dark. The console flashed red. Warning symbols stacked on top of each other until the screen was almost solid light. Saley stood up beside him. She was shaking, but her eyes were clear. "I can help," she said. Elias hesitated. "You don't have to." She shook her head. "I want to." She stepped closer to the arch. The air around her shimmered, soft and bright. The rift reacted, the darkness inside it slowing, turning toward her like it recognized her presence. Sally raised her hands, palms open. "It doesn't need to be held," she whispered. "It needs to be guided." Elias watched the energy flow change on the console. The lines bent, curving toward the coordinates he had set. The station screamed again, but this time it wasn't pain. It was release. The keepers rushed forward. Elias slammed his hand down on the final command. The room exploded with light. Not a blast, not fire, just brightness, pure and white, filling every corner of the chamber. Elias felt weightless. For a moment there was no up or down, no floor or ceiling. Just light and motion and a deep, distant feeling of something moving far away. Then it stopped. The light faded. The room returned. The arch stood empty. The crack was gone. The rift was gone. Silence filled the station, deep and complete. Elias hit the floor hard. His suit went dark. The glowing lines faded. Sally dropped beside him, catching his head before it hit the metal. "Elias," she cried. He groaned. "Still here." She laughed, a small, broken sound that turned into a smile. The keepers stood frozen in the doorway. Their golden eyes flicked to the empty arch, then to Sally, then to Elias. "The fracture is gone," the voice said, quieter now. "You have altered the network." Elias pushed himself up on one elbow. "Yeah, you're welcome." The keepers didn't move for a long moment. Then one of them stepped back. "The anchor is no longer required," the voice said. "This station is no longer relevant." Sally stood, helping Elias to his feet. She kept one hand on his arm, steadying him. "What happens now?" she asked. The keepers turned toward the broken doorway. "We withdraw," the voice said. "The galaxy will adapt to this change." Elias frowned. "That's it, you just leave." The voice paused. "Human interference has been noted." The keepers walked out, their armor dimming as they vanished into the smoke and light of the docking corridor. Elias watched them go, then slumped against the console. Sally looked around the room. The lights were soft, now calm. The walls no longer hummed with tension. "It's quiet," she said. Elias nodded. "Best sound in the universe." He checked his suit systems. Most of them were angry but working. Sally turned to him, her eyes shining in a way that had nothing to do with power now. "You didn't have to do this," she said. Elias shrugged. "I know," she tilted her head. "Then why did you?" He thought about the empty station, the cold dark, the way her voice had sounded when he first heard it. "Because nobody should be alone in a place like this," he said. Sally smiled. Outside the station, the unknown fleet was pulling back, their ships turning away from the silent, broken structure. The stars beyond looked the same as always, but something in the galaxy had changed. The station drifted in silence. No alarms, no humming systems. Just the soft sound of Elias' suit and Sally's quiet breathing. Outside the wide windows of the chamber, stars burned gently, far away and calm, like nothing important had just happened. Elias sat on the edge of the platform, his boots dangling over empty air. His body ached in a deep, tired way, the kind that came after fear finally let go. Sally stood near the center of the room, looking around like someone waking up in a place they had only seen in dreams. She touched the wall. The glowing lines no longer moved fast or sharp. They flowed slowly now, like a river at rest. "It's not pulling anymore," she said softly. Elias nodded. "That's because you're not holding it back anymore." She turned toward him. "I didn't know it could feel like this." He smiled. "Free," she thought for a moment, then nodded. "Yes, that." Elias stood and walked toward the broken doorway where the keepers had left. Smoke still floated in the air and pieces of metal drifted slowly in low gravity. He activated his comms and tried to reach his ship. Static at first, then a weak signal. "Come on," he muttered. "Don't make this harder." The signal cleared. "Salvage ship Ward online," the system voice said. Elias let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. "We've got a ride," he said to Sally. She stepped closer, staying near his side. "Where will we go?" Elias shrugged. "Somewhere with air that doesn't try to kill us, food that isn't in tubes, a star that feels warm instead of far away." She smiled at that. They moved carefully through the damaged corridors. The station felt different now. Lighter. Like a place that had been holding its breath for a long time and finally let it go. As they walked, Sally stopped near a wide window. Outside, far beyond the broken station arms, something was happening. The stars were moving, not fast, not wild. Just shifting slowly like a pattern being drawn across the dark. Elias followed her gaze. "That's not normal." Sally's eyes glowed faintly. "It's an echo." "Of what?" "Of choice," she said. The stars formed a long, gentle curve, stretching across the sky like a line of light drawn by an invisible hand. Elias felt a strange tightness in his chest. "That's beautiful," Saley nodded. "It will fade, but some will remember it." They reached the docking corridor. Elias' ship waited there, small and simple next to the giant, ancient station. He opened the airlock and helped Saley inside. The ship felt warm, safe, human. The lights were a soft yellow instead of glowing blue or sharp white. Saley sat in the passenger seat, running her fingers over the fabric, the metal, the simple controls. "It's small," she said. Elias laughed. "Hey, don't insult my home," she smiled. "I mean, it feels close, like everything is near." He powered up the ship. The engines hummed, steady and familiar. As they pulled away from the station, Elias looked back through the rear window. The station drifted alone again, broken but peaceful. No rift, no chains, no keepers, just a quiet place in a very loud universe. They jumped to open space. The stars stretched and snapped back into place. They were free. They didn't go to a big spaceport. Elias chose a small human outpost on the edge of a quiet system, a place with one landing pad, a few low buildings, and more sky than metal. When the ship touched down, dust rose around them in a soft cloud. Saley stepped onto solid ground for the first time. She froze. The ground felt strange under her feet, heavy, real. She bent down and touched it, letting the dust run through her fingers. "It doesn't float," she whispered. Elias grinned. "Welcome to gravity." The people at the outpost noticed them almost right away. A few workers stopped and stared, not at Elias, at Saley. She stood out. Her skin, her eyes, the way she moved like the world was still new. Elias raised a hand. "She's with me," he said, calm but firm. No one argued. They found a small medical building. The doctor was an older woman with tired eyes and kind hands. She didn't ask many questions. She ran scans, frowned at the readings, and shook her head slowly. "I don't know what she is," the doctor said, "but she's exhausted. Whatever she was doing before, it took a lot out of her." Saley lay on the bed, looking at the ceiling. Elias stood nearby, arms crossed. "Will she be okay?" he asked. The doctor nodded. "With rest, yes. With time, probably better than okay." Saley turned her head and smiled at Elias. That night the outpost was quiet. The sky was full of stars, closer here, brighter. Elias sat outside on a crate, looking up. Saley sat beside him, wrapped in a simple blanket someone had given her. "Your people," she said softly. "They don't run when something is strange." Elias shrugged. "Some do, some don't. We're complicated." She nodded. "The keepers said humans were inefficient." Elias snorted. "We hear that a lot." She looked at him. "I think they meant kind." He didn't answer right away. A small drone flew overhead, its lights blinking. Somewhere, someone laughed inside one of the buildings. Saley tilted her head. "The galaxy will change now?" Elias frowned. "Because the rift is gone?" She shook her head. "Because of you?" He blinked. "Me. You showed the stars something," she said. "That power is not the only way to protect. That choice can be stronger than control." Elias looked back at the sky. "I just didn't want you to get hurt," she smiled. "That is how it always starts." News travels fast in space. A week later, ships began to pass through the system. Some stopped, some just slowed, sending signals. They all asked the same thing. "Is it true?" Elias stayed out of it at first. He fixed his ship. He helped unload cargo. He shared meals with Saley and the outpost workers, but the story spread anyway. A human salvager, a chained girl, a rift in the sky, the keepers, a choice. People from different species began to arrive. Tall ones, small ones, ones made of light and ones made of metal. They came with questions, with gifts, with fear, and with hope. Saley stood beside Elias when they spoke. She told her story in simple words. She didn't talk about pain much. She talked about hearing a voice in the dark, a human voice. Some of the visitors bowed, some touched the ground, some just stared at Elias like he was something they didn't understand. He hated that part. "I didn't do anything special," he told one group. Saley squeezed his hand. "You answered." One night the sky changed again, not like before. This time the stars formed a shape, not a line, a symbol, simple, clear, a small light standing in front of a larger darkness. People across the outpost came outside to look. They whispered in different languages, they pointed, they recorded. Saley felt it before anyone else did. "The echo is still spreading," she said. "Not from the rift, from you." Elias stared at the sky. "I don't like being an echo," she laughed softly. "You don't have to be. Others will carry it now." Months passed. Saley grew stronger. She learned to walk under gravity without wobbling. She learned human words for things that had never needed names before. Elias taught her how to fix ship panels, how to cook simple food, how to tell when a jump engine was lying to you. She taught him how to feel the space between things, how to listen to silence. They traveled together, not as hero and rescued, as friends. On one quiet world, a group of miners asked for help with a broken tunnel that led to unstable ground. Elias brought tools. Sally stood at the edge, feeling the space beneath the rock, guiding them away from danger. On another station, a small alien child cried in a crowded hall, lost. Sally knelt down and spoke softly until the child's parent came running. Elias watched and smiled. The keepers never returned, but others like them did, groups who held power. Groups who controlled instead of protected. Some listened, some didn't. But now, when they tried to take, someone always asked a question. Did they choose? And that question spread. One day, far from busy systems, Elias and Sally landed on a quiet world covered in wide fields and slow rivers. They sat by the water, watching the light of a warm star ripple across the surface. Sally skipped a small stone. It bounced twice, then sank. I used to think I was made for one thing, she said. Elias leaned back on his hands. Yeah, she nodded. To hold, to stop, to be used. She looked at him. Now I think I was made to decide, Elias smiled. That sounds more like living, she smiled back. Above them, the sky was normal. No symbols, no echoes, just stars. But somewhere far away, a ship picked up a faint signal. Not a voice, a story about a place in the dark, about a cry for help, and about a human who listened. And across the galaxy, in quiet corners and loud cities, the story was told again and again. If you are lost, if you are afraid, if you are alone, find a human, they will hear you.